So, good morning or good night, good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. And today I'm talking to a rock metal band from Australia called Ahles, and they released an album in Greece and the oh my god, what did I write here? And the Waking Mind? No.
Between dreams and the waking world.
And the Waking, yes, sorry, my
That's
bad.
okay.
And this album came out back in July. I know it's in Bandcamp. So you guys, people can stream it on Bandcamp. And right, so this is a band from Brisbane. And we're here to talk about everything prog metal. So we have two members of the band. We have Ian and we have Will. So first of all, tell us what you do in the band.
Sorry, what was that? It is a teeny bit hard to hear. I know it's a great way to start the interview, but what was that again? Sorry, Hector.
Oh,
Yeah.
like you can say your name and what you do in the band.
Oh, okay, yes. Oh, well, if Ian wants to go first, because
Oh, okay. I'm Ian, and I'm guitarist and I guess lead vocalist. And
I'm Will. I play guitars and backing vocals, I guess you would say,
Nice. And
and others.
so this band obviously is named after you, Ian. And that's good. That's good because you have a cool last name. You know, like you need to have a cool last name to have a band name. Like Ian. Because if you were named Ian Jones, like
yeah, yeah, that's it's kind of funny. We spent ages going back and forth on band names, and it was actually that engineer who recorded the album who suggested naming it after my surname, and um, that um, kind of made the decision much easier because high in the alphabetical order, which is useful, and short and sharp. So
we
we thought
we
it all
also
worked.
yeah, we also I think Ian was talking to the person who designed his previous band's logo, and when we saw his last name in the same kind of font, we just went, "Oh, that looks really cool," and we thought that would, that was also like another confirmation that it was a good name. So,
are you in the ocean?
am I in? What was that? Sorry.
Because I thought I heard like a
I'm on a main road, so there's a lot of traffic going
oh,
past. So if you hear a an ambulance or something, then just know that that's a common occurrence.
uh,
Yeah. So sorry, Hector. It is a little bit hard to hear at the moment. It could just be my microphone or something. So if I ask for clarification, I'm so sorry.
don't worry about that. I'm trying to speak as clearly and loudly as possible. So this is a project. So Ian, you were in another band. You've been in the prog metal world in Australia for 20 years. So tell us how this project came to be.
Okay. So going back in time, I grew up in another city in Australia, in Melbourne, which is way further south. And my first band there was a band called Praetorian. Um, and we recorded a couple of albums and played around a little bit. I moved up here in '07 and started another band called Born from the Ashes, which had our current drummer Alex playing with us. And that's where a lot of the material on this album came from. It was demos sort of for the next Born from the Ashes album before the band kind of dissolved around 2010. Um, and around 2010, I I auditioned and got accepted into Queensland Conservatorium on classical guitar, and I ended up doing 2 degrees there, and kind of sort of made my way back into metal with a band called Dragon's Mead, um, around 2015-ish. And then one day I saw a video of Alex um, playing backing track with one of our old demos, and it kind of got me thinking about revamping some of those old songs and using some of the new classical guitar skills I'd sort of learned in making something a bit fresh and different. So that's kind of how it came about. And Will here, he studied with me at the conservatorium. He was in my cohort, so we kind of did our bachelor degree together. And yeah, that's how we met as well.
That's nice. And of course, I can hear that influence, especially in the last two tracks on this record. So one of my questions for you was like, how was it like reconnecting with Alex, after so many years of not playing together?
It was really cool. And we kind of reconnected a little bit before restarting this project as well, because she's been playing in a death metal band called Puncture Wound for a few years. They're based on the Gold Coast, which is about an hour drive south of Brisbane. And they needed a guitarist to fill in for some shows, and I filled in with them. And I think that was another inspiration to get started on this project, because it was a lot of fun playing with her again. Like, she's a very cool person to hang out with, and her drumming has just been going from strength to strength in the last decade as well. So it was kind of really exciting to reconnect after each of us developing our own new different skills. That was a very cool thing.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's different now, like recording music now that you obviously did those studies. And basically, do you think you know more, like that you actually know more now than when when you first start making the bands, you think like, oh, I know everything. And now you think back and like, oh, well, I didn't know anything at all.
Yeah, that's kind of the cycle, isn't it? It's like you start off thinking you know everything, and then you get that crash down to earth. The first time you record is absolutely like the biggest learning experience for any musician, I think, because hearing that played back, it's like, did I really play that? That sounds awful. And then you kind of refine your technique based on doing that. And then you get confident again. But I think there's always a kind of desire to try the new thing, to get to the new level, yeah. So I feel like I'm in a perpetual state of learning anyway. Like, I'm never gonna know it all. And that keeps it interesting too. So yeah.
Yeah. And so this album, is it a concept record per se?
Um, Not specifically. No, that's kind of like, I think the lyrical themes are kind of connected, but that wasn't sort of the intent of it. I think I think if there is a concept, it's kind of merging the two worlds that I'd kind of been inhabiting for most of my musical life, like the metal side of things, and then like a lot of my life sort of really heavily dedicated to classical guitar over a decade-ish kind of period as well, and just sort of connecting those things together. That kind of felt like the concept on my behalf anyway. I don't know, Will, what would you say?
Oh, with regard, no, I would agree with what you said there. Obviously, I think when you're writing something, everything is going to seem connected, even if you don't intend it to be, just because you know it's coming from the same place. Um, it was interesting. I was thinking about concept kind of stuff because I recently just I was actually going to message you about this. I picked up a Fear Factory record, one that I've heard many a time, and obsolete. And I noticed, because I'd only been hearing it digitally, and listening to it just on and off, just really enjoying it. But then when I opened the lyric, I'm like, oh, hang on, I didn't realize that they actually had written an entire storyline for it there as well. So I've always yeah, no, I've always been a fan, I guess, of concept albums. Just because I like having that experience of listening to the album as a whole. But I guess if you're taking in the product as like a whole thing, like an album from start to finish, it's going to naturally just have that kind of flow that you would expect with some sort of
Yeah.
storyline. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you read things in the lyrics, and then, another thing comes up, it might be different, but you're like, oh, okay, I can still see that it's the same kind of mind behind it, so to speak. So yeah, I guess my non-answer for that is that yeah, it could be taken however you perceive it, I guess. But I certainly don't believe that Ian intentionally sat down and said, right, I'm going to make a concept and it's going to have this, and this.
Yeah.
That's just my feeling on it. So
Yeah.
Good. And Ian, like the singing on this album, there's some diversity. Like in the singing, you do some growlings, but then you do some like some different type of singing. Tell us about your process when it came down to laying the vocals.
Okay, because yeah, previous to this, in every other metal band I've been a vocalist in, I was purely death growls. So this was the first time I'd kind of attempted some singing parts. So that was a huge learning curve. I kind of sing at all my guitar students all the time. So like when I'm teaching them to read notes and things, it's like singing A's and B's and whatnot. And then so I kind of developed a little confidence in sort of pitching notes correctly, but sort of doing that and projecting and doing all those things. Yeah, I'm not very much a trained singer, so it was a lot of car practice. A lot of practice while driving to and from. I drive an hour to one of my teaching jobs, so an hour there and then an hour back. So that's a lot of time to sing in the car. So that's kind of how I developed it. And I guess I was thinking characterizations. Like I wanted to give different characterizations to different parts of the songs, and that's how I thought of the different kind of singing techniques I put in there. So, um, yeah, I feel like it does give them a little bit more life to not just be growling all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought like with the different styles, I thought that maybe I was thinking maybe it's a character or he's singing something differently. So I'm like, I'll know when I ask him.
Yeah. That's spot on. That's exactly what I was thinking. Different kind of characters for different parts of the songs. So like it's a back and forth between two voices, essentially. So yeah, that's exactly it.
And the last two tracks on the record, which are more instrumental tracks, you have the concerto, you have that beautiful, like almost classical. It feels like that Spanish guitar that I have my family. Some of my family came from Spain, so that classical
Yes.
guitar tone, like. And the last song also is it's like an outro, I believe, to concerto. So tell us a little bit about that track in particular, getting that classical guitar tone.
Yeah, so both of those closing tracks aren't original music. So Concerto is the third movement of a concerto for classical guitar and orchestra, and I arranged that for this band. So it's by Mario Castelnuovo Tedesco, who was a Italian composer from the 20th century. I think it was the first guitar concerto written in the 20th century, and it was something that I did learn while I was studying at the conservatorium, and I felt like it had pirate metal vibes when I learned it because I was playing in a band that like did covers of Ailstorm and stuff, so that was like really in my head, and it translated really well to metal. So I took the orchestral parts and wrote them for the band to play, but the classical guitar part's exactly the same. And the final track, the Fantasia, was composed by the composer I wrote my master's thesis about, an Australian guitarist composer, Philip Houghton. He sadly passed a few years ago. But that was a piece he wrote for Renaissance Lute, but he published it as a guitar piece. I actually did record that piece on a Renaissance Lute, a 7 course Renaissance Lute. So that is a very distinctive sound as a result of using a lute, a very sort of ancient instrument. And yeah, I thought it was a very nice way to close the album for sure.
Nice. One of my best friends loves classical music, so he would have probably heard it and told me, this is this. But
yeah.
not that knowledgeable in classical music, but
No.
I just heard that, it sounds nice. It sounds good to finish the album on. So let's talk about other tracks on the record. For example, I thought the lyrics were very interesting for the opening track, Something Spiritual, where you're asking, like, what is life? So tell me a little bit about that song.
Okay, so the title is very, very much tongue-in-cheek. It kind of really goes, like, the inspiration is just kind of how people talk to each other on social media. That's kind of what inspired the thing, particularly around the time of the pandemic. That's kind of where the title came around as well. That's a lot of sort of angry back and forth, and a lot of and there still is, there's a lot of people trying to sell the idea of sell the idea of something spiritual, like, as a way to make money. The song ended up taking different side of directions. That's kind of where it came from. That kind of competitive thing, which is directly in and then yeah, so just gathering my thoughts a little bit here. So that was the inspiration behind it, and then just kind of like a lot of personal things in there as well, like the sort of line "survive for survival's sake." That's just kind of, that's what it feels like sometimes, like you're just making a living for the sake of making a living, and it doesn't feel like you've got really anything outside of that. You kind of have to really fight to sort of be something more than that in your own personal space. And I think that's kind of more what the song ended up being about. That's a very convoluted way of getting to that spot, but yeah, there it is.
Yeah, interesting. Will, did you write some of the lyrics as well, or you did more your guitar work?
It's more guitar work. All the lyrics were pretty much pre-written. There were a few vocal ideas that we came up with in the studio, and like we were talking about, Ian's vocals before, like, just going away from the death growl kind of stuff. I've always been very interested in, bands where there were a lot of vocal hats, so to speak, like vocalists or, multiple vocalists who could do many things. So, like Mike Patton, for example, or Devin Townsend, going all the way from, like super growling all the way to like, oh, really high pitched falsetto kind of stuff. So definitely, having the lyrics pre-written, I think, was good because, it's Ian's baby, so to speak. And I think lyrics, as I'm sure he would agree with, come from a very personal place. And yeah, so if I had any ideas for it, I was just like, I just don't think it would sort of fit, because when it comes with that sort of idea of, this fits the lyrics and whatnot, I think it's just sort of like, too many cooks in that regard. But yeah, but I was very happy to contribute a solo to that one. All the solos that I wrote on the album were just all mine with that one. I think on Scattered I improvised, just because that felt like it was a very good place just to kind of go with the id, so to speak. But with Something Spiritual, that solo, I really tried to, get to the idea of what Ian was doing, like, well, like, what did this sort of conjure in my head, and how can I translate that into, like a lead section? So long answer to a short question. Yeah, no input into the lyrics, but I think we tried a few different vocal ideas, and all the solos there were actually quite fun. I'm very proud of that first solo that I wrote. I think it was the first time where I'd written something and I listened back to it and I went, oh, I don't hate that. Because everything else that I've tried to has just been like, it's just like a bit of like, forcing it out, so to speak. But with that one, I felt like there was a little twinge of just like, that's interesting. So yeah.
Yeah, that solo's a ripper.
Yeah, if only I could actually play it.
Well, you can.
Well, the important thing is that I can on the recording, but no, it's actually a lot of fun to play because there was a sense of, and I'm not sure if other instrumentalists have this, like I think always when it comes to writing a lead, it should make the song better. But there's always that little temptation to be like, oh, look at all the chops and everything I can pull out with that one. So I think,
You know what I call that?
Yeah.
I call it doing an Ingy Malmsteen.
So what do these people say? Less is more. No, more is more. More is more. But yeah, no, I was very happy with that one because I felt like, I'm not going to say lightning in a bottle, but I was very happy with that solo because I felt like it just towed the line between like, oh, look at he can do the double-handed, oh, tappy tappy, but at the same time it wasn't like too much, So as opposed to everything else where I'm just like just trying to hammer it home.
Because I can only play the intro to Smell Like Teen Spirit, so I suck.
Okay. Well, it's like what Ian said with the whole, it's that whole Socratic thing of the more you know, the more you realize how little you know. So
Yeah.
when people say like, oh, have you garnered much knowledge, now that you've done your degree and everything, it's like I feel like I know less now in a good way, but it's sort of like you realize just how many more mountains there are to climb, technique wise, songwriting wise, lyric idea wise, and everything. So it can be very refreshing, but also a bit daunting.
I have a master degree, not in music, but that master degree hasn't done shit for me. So
yeah, I don't know. I guess it's something on a CV. It has helped me get teaching gigs, so I guess it has helped me in some way. But yeah.
That's good. So let's talk about, I think the second song on the album. I think let me see if I wrote it here correctly. I think it's well, the first single was Will Nothing. Oh my God. I tell you, I need to Will Nothing Grow.
That's the one. Yeah.
I'm looking at what tell me how, like, Will Nothing Grow being the single.
Okay. So the reason I thought it would be a good first single is that it kind of showed a bit of everything that the band does. It had that classical guitar kind of intro, and it's got like some dual guitar shredding in it, and different kind of modes of vocals as well. And I thought it was a good kind of like tasting assortment, like a box of assorted chocolates about what the band is about. So I thought that was kind of what led to me thinking that would be a good single.
Are you quoting Forrest Gump?
I think unintentionally, actually. I wasn't trying to. But yes, now that you mention it. Yeah. And sort of that song is very much an ode to this place, Australia, because it's about how just simply imposing Europe onto Australia kind of ended up with a lot of early settlers being dead. It's like you have to adapt to your surroundings to thrive. You can't just simply overtake it. Well, people can and do, I guess, but I don't think it's the best idea. And that's kind of lyrically what that song's about. So
that's interesting. No, I never been to Australia. I want to go. But yeah, it's an interesting country, because you have it's so huge, like it's the biggest island. And and you have lots of like animals that are nowhere there. And I love talking to bands to Australia. The only thing is coordinating the times.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a nice time. 9 p.m. I'm
Oh,
hoping isn't too
wonderful.
late for you. And
It is great. So I enjoy, I enjoyed the album because it had like different things to it. So it's like a progressive metal with different elements. Was there a song for you guys that maybe was the hardest to write, like the music to, and maybe one the music can be for both, but maybe one in the lyric department that was like the hardest.
okay, that's a very good question. Um, I think musically, the Cure and the Curse, I think might have been more of a difficult one. There were, and yeah, so there's quite a few different sort of changes in there. The drum intro is a very challenging part for the drummer,
Yeah.
and she does really well for that. That was one of those things where I, as a guitarist, wrote a drum part, not really knowing about drums, but our drummer Alex is very stubborn and wanted to do it that way
Oh
anyway.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. Her
which I
her
love.
Alex's work ethic is just puts all of us to shame. It's like I'm honestly considering just writing this joke drum part for her at one point, just like, this impossible kind of thing and showing to her, and she'll still like go, okay, well, how do I? I'm just like, no, it's a joke. It's a joke. But yeah, absolutely. She's it's sort of almost inspiring. It's like, well, I can definitely afford to work a little bit harder, because she's always just giving it, no matter how ridiculous it is, just giving it her all, which is very comforting, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she wasn't daunted, Ian, that you wrote a super difficult. So you wrote, yeah, you were like, I wrote this, play.
No, no, it wasn't like that at all. It's like I had an idea that I wanted to start a song with a drum intro, and I came up with something, and I said, you don't have to play it this way. You can change it up however you want. It was basically an idea so I could make the other ideas work, you know what I mean? Like in the demo phase. So um but she was like, no, I want to do this one. And it's like, awesome. That was how that came about. And some of those riffs were just very hard to get tight as well. And they don't
Mm,
actually sound like the most difficult riffs. Like sometimes the most tricky sounding things are actually easier. And
yeah.
in this case, the easier sounding things were actually more difficult, I think. So I think
Mm.
that one musically was probably the more difficult one.
Yeah, I think that was the one where I had to do that was the one where I had to do the most takes just to get my rhythm part done. And it's as you say,
Mm,
like when you hear it, it actually sounds very, for lack of a better word, conventional, like this sort of thrashy part, like da digga digga da digga digga da. But then actually playing it, I'm going, man, like it was very hard to make it sound convincing. If I think back to the recording, that was the one where I had to like hang on, another take, and at some point it's just like you're getting this huge forearm pump just through doing all of that through so long, which is great. But whereas something that as Ian said, it sounds quite complicated, but I've always felt that there's sort of refuge in complexity sometimes, is that you can kind of not fake your way through it, but it sort of it doesn't expose itself to critique because it's just so many notes, like note, 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 note. You can kind of hide behind that a little bit, I think, sometimes. Whereas something where it's out in the open of like, if you don't hit this chord on this particular beat, it's like, it's incredibly obvious. So yeah, I agree with the Cure and the Curse. That was, but it's actually one of my favorite tracks on the album. That's the one where I think, because as I've said many a time to Ian and to other people, when you're playing and learning your part, you're so focused on the individual parts of just okay, making sure that you're getting this in time. What are the little mnemonics that you can use, especially if it's like say an odd time signature or something unintuitive. And then when you hear the completed product, you kind of go, oh, okay, so I see what that is, and then it just becomes something different. So Cure and the Curse was probably my favorite, just because it was the one where it was such a pleasant surprise, so to speak, to hear it. So
yeah.
yeah.
And after the last 3 years that I've been doing these interviews, a lot of musicians have told me that sometimes the easiest part is the one that gives you more trouble. So yeah, I'm like, I don't know because I can't play, but yeah. So you just said it, and I really listening to the album. I'm like, there's a song that I felt like there's a very thrash metal part to it,
Yeah.
like it sounded to me like 80s like thrash Metallica meets Slayer type of thing on that riff. Which is, you're a prog band, so there's different styles. So I wasn't expecting that. So I'm like, oh, look, there's a metal riff there. So, and Ian, in the lyric department, which song was like the hardest for you?
I actually think that one as well. I decided that everything was a little bit too morose lyric-wise, and I wanted to sort of do something in a more positive direction, which ended up sort of being that song. So the song itself is kind of, even though it's called The Cure and the Curse, it's kind of like the musician journey where you kind of constantly trying to reach for that next thing. And I write depressing lyrics very easily. They're things that sort of come easiest to my brain. So when I try and flip the script and do something like with a more positive mindset, that really pushes me. So that's for that reason. That's why I think The Cure and the Curse as well in that respect.
Awesome. So I want to show the artwork of the album so we can talk a little bit about the artwork. Let me get it here quickly so we can talk about the
Okay.
So yeah, here we have it. So here is the artwork. So tell me a little bit about what you were going for with the artwork.
Okay. My mother actually painted that. So I commissioned her, and she didn't want any money for it, but I asked her to paint something that actually I'll go back a couple of steps. My mum took up painting like again, I guess, because she did some in her younger life. But when I was a teen, she started painting again, and she likes to paint from photos and sort of make realistic paintings. And I always really loved when she had just had the background layers on that didn't really look specifically like anything. And I'm like, Mum, leave it there, leave it there. That's awesome. But like, she'd want to continue the painting. And so that was kind of my brief. I was like, do you remember when I used to say when you were painting to leave the background where it was? And then she came up with that, which actually is a shoreline. There's a bit more to the painting than you see on the front cover. If you get the disc version, it actually opens out, and then you've got sort of like a rectangular pattern where there's a shoreline and a block of wood on it. But that was, yeah, because of the title as well. It's kind of like, if there is a concept, it's kind of that space between, you've got your dreams, you've got the things that sort of make your essence of you as a person, and then you've got the real world, which is kind of pushing against that. So there's a space in between those things, and that's why I thought of that idea for the artwork as well. It's kind of like a dream dissolving. I don't know. That's not exactly what I meant to say, but something along those lines.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense because between the dream and the waking world, it almost sounds like you're half awake and half asleep.
Yeah, exactly. And that's honestly how I feel a lot of the time. Probably because like I don't sleep enough usually, but yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I used to sleep more when I was younger, but now sleeping is harder. But it is necessary to improve the mood. So it's cool that your mom got to do that.
Yeah.
You repair. Did she tell you you gotta visit me more?
Well, she still lives in Melbourne when I'm up here, so I don't get to see her all that frequently. That's usually at least a trip a year, but sometimes it's a little less frequent than that. Sometimes it's a little more. Um, yeah. Um, no, she didn't. She didn't actually require anything of me. I guess if this thing sells any amount of copies, I'll pay her a royalty for it. But that's probably not going to happen for a while, if at all. So yeah.
But it's nice, and I think it goes with the music uh, on it as well. So, uh, are you guys playing some shows soon? Like, if people want to see you live? Yeah.
Yes. So we've got one that's imminently due to be announced. So I don't think I should actually give the details to that one. We have a couple. The one that's definitely announced is the 25th of October, and that's an all ages gig. And that's up here at Brisbane at the Norman Park Bowls Club, which is a nice gig to get to if you're going to bring kids, or also bowls clubs. I don't know if you've heard of lawn bowls.
So what's that, man?
Yeah, so lawn bowls is a game that like a lot of old people play, but
Similar to bocce, perhaps.
yeah. That's not the important part here, but
No.
bowls clubs can sell alcohol a lot cheaper than like most other gig venues. So it's great if you want to go to a gig and drink a little more cheaply. That was kind of the point I was trying to get to. And we've got also not announced, but we've got a Sydney gig in the works for next year as well. So we've got an unannounced gig early in October and another one in November. And then the Norman Park Bowls Club. So it's a bit hard to plug the gigs when they're not officially announced, which is a little bit frustrating. Yeah.
Especially my Australian couchers. You need to follow Ailes in the social so you know when the shows are coming. Actually, I'm in Puerto Rico, but my number 3 country where more people watch my videos is Australia. Believe it
Oh
or not.
wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Australian following. A lot of that might do because I collaborate with an Australian YouTuber called Live Listening Ray. So hi to Chile.
Ah.
He's in Sydney. So
Oh, cool.
yeah. But so yeah, no, and like last week I talked to another Australian band, completely different from you guys, because it's like a metalcore band, but like every time, like Australia, like what? There's so many cool bands that I always ask them, like, "What's in your water?"
uh, I guess geographical isolation. Like it takes a lot for like the bigger overseas bands to come here, so it's kind of like we've got to make our own to be able to see it and experience it, I guess. So.
You know, that happened even Puerto Rico, we're an island, so we have our own metal scene. But also, I think that because not every major musician also band comes here, so it's when we get like big acts, like we're excited when they come here.
Yeah.
There's like there's a band that I'm a huge fan of, and they've been around for about 20 years, and it was only 2 years ago that they actually had their first Australian show, and I was very happy I was at that one. But when you think about it, it's just like, yeah, absence makes the heart grow fonder, I guess. So when someone does deign to be like, yeah,
What song was that?
Scar Symmetry, one of my favorites. And as I said, like just a big influence on me in terms of like lead writing and songwriting and all that sort of stuff. But the fact that they'd been around for so long and gone through so many albums and not major lineup changes, but a few of them. And the fact that they would say like, okay, it's only now that we're making like our 20-year anniversary and it's going to be, in Australia. I was just like, absolutely got to go there. Obviously, as you say, being an island where with the isolation, we're sort of hungry for the really big, sort of bands that we love at the best of times. And then when the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden, it just threw into relief even more just how isolated we really were, I guess. So when certain bands like were coming to Australia, it's like absolutely get on that, because you're just hungry for just all of this experience.
And right now, what's the music scene like, at least in your neck of the woods, Brisbane?
I think Ian should answer that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's I think like everywhere the pandemic kind of hit it a little bit. But like there's definitely a thirst for it. There was a big festival that I went to as a punter a couple of weeks ago called Necrosonic, and it was huge. And like, so there are promoters like doing big things again. A friend of mine who manages us a little bit, Mousy, has a promotion company called Medal of Honor, and he's starting to become active again. So I kind of feel like in general, the live scene is starting to reopen up a little bit. So there are more gigs being put on. There are some really ripping bands, like just in Brisbane as well. Like bands like Snake Mountain and Nucleosaurus Rex, and they're in, and like they're another very proggy band in so many different genres as well. So
and I think Caligula's Horse is based in Brisbane. I could be very wrong about that.
yeah, they are from Brisbane. They're
Yeah,
doing huge things overseas. Yeah,
they're awesome. Yeah, holy crap.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like,
Yeah.
I love Caligula's Horse. Yeah, great band.
I
So
just remember talking to one of our mutual friends and I was just sending like her a message like, ha ha ha, I got to see Caligula's Horse live because she wasn't there, and she goes, ha ha, I get to watch them rehearse. I'm just like, dang it. That was
yeah,
Rosie vibe, yeah.
Yeah.
there's a lot of cool bands from Australia. So every time that I
Mm.
can talk to Australian bands, it's good. Plus, I got a lot of viewers there, so I gotta be good to my Australian viewers. So the album is out now. Already? Are you thinking of writing new music? What's next for Ahles?
Okay, we are in the process of writing new music, and Will has actually written a very cool song.
Mm.
And I've written a couple of others, and we've got some riffs going around. I actually wrote the first little bit of lyrics to one of my new songs this
Oh,
morning,
good.
so that's kind of exciting. So when we get around to recording that, I'm not sure. Some of it's quite tricky to play, some of it not so much. So
Mm.
we've got a bit of rehearsing before any new material is ready to go, but there's definitely some things cooking.
Mm. I'm also very interested to see how it goes because where Ian and I obviously are both, metalheads, we do tend to have like liking different bands and everything. And when I was writing this particular song, I was kind of going, oh, I'm not sure if it's going to fit the Ailes thing. But then when I think back to it with just how varied our first album is, it's like, well, and then when I heard some of the stuff that Ian had written, I was just like, yeah, it sounds completely different in a good way. It's sort of like you never know what's like you're never bored because there's always something new that's coming
Yeah.
along that's taking your attention. And I just realized, and I've said this many a time to both him and other people when I'm writing, it's just to me almost embarrassing just how much I wear the influences on the sleeve. It's like you can just dissect and be like, there's that influence, there's that one, and there's that one. But I guess a lot of bands are like that. You just say, oh, I really like this, and it's just going to come out subconsciously anyway. But yeah, and the fact that these guys are willing to you know, give it a go, and then you find out what works, what doesn't, and then what really sort of like sticks around because it's super awesome. Ian's written something there that I think, what did you say, was like the nerdiest thing that he's ever written. But it's one of those things where I can't stop playing. I'm like, I'd want to listen to this, you know. If it was another band, that would be like the part that I sort of keep rewinding just to hear. So I think that's a good sign.
That's probably got to be the most difficultly
Yes.
musical song on the
Yeah.
next album.
I think because our poor beleaguered drummer, as I said, it's a good thing she's got such a work ethic because, you know, like these sort of, for lack of a better term, the complexity there, it's like it really works. And I think Ian's mentioned many a time that, you know, it's not so much the complexity that matters, it's how it grooves, you know. Like not just writing complicated odd time signatures for the sake of it. And when I was playing this particular part that we're both referring to, yeah, it really came across. I was like, oh, it's not just that it's for lack of a better term, cerebrally interesting. It's like, what is that? Like, how do I count that? But it really sort of scratches this kind of primal itch as well, where it just, you know, there's just this gut feeling of like, oh, that's cool, you know. So yeah, no, long story short, we're looking forward to getting some new stuff just for you know, just showing people how cool it all is and just continuing the journey.
Probably next year, tentatively.
Well, yeah, tentative. Maybe I reckon maybe we could get an EP next year. I don't know if we'd get a full length, just due to the nature of the songs. They're pretty complicated and take a while to
Yeah,
put
leave
together.
them wanting more. For an EP, so they're like, we want more, and then you give
Yes. Yep. That's probably a good way to look at it. Especially, and that's something else coming into this project. Like the last time I released something was before 2010, when things like Spotify and things weren't a thing. So I've had a huge learning curve with all of that. Like just in the last couple of years, it's been, yeah, it's been a time.
I had the promo, but I found your album on Bandcamp. But it wasn't
Yes.
because I use Apple Music now because I quit Spotify. I broke up with Spotify because of
Yeah.
and drone shit. I'm like, no more Spotify.
Well, I only got onto Spotify specifically for the band. Like I had never used it. Well, I sort of had an account, but I never really used it much. But yeah, I hope there are some other platforms than Spotify that kind of capture the public interest at some point.
Yeah. Apple Music, the quality, the music, they put better sound quality for the music. So I'm really digging in from, and there's no AI crap bands. But Bandcamp is great. You know, Bandcamp is good for this. So
yeah.
For people who want to buy physical copies, do you have it? You have it on CD, right?
Yes. We have it CD.
Buy it.
So you can buy it on our Bandcamp. There may be some issues posting it to the US at this point in time because our mail carriers aren't posting to the US at this point in time, basically. So
tariffs.
yeah, basically. So if you want it in the US, I suggest make yourself a really good Canadian or Mexican friend, and
you know what? I'm screwed because Puerto Rico is like a territory of the US. So I'm screwed by those damn tariffs.
Yeah, and it's harder to have a over the border friend from Puerto Rico as well, I imagine.
Someone will swim.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I brought him now, and then they'll get him at the border of the sea, and they're like, "No, you have to pay tariffs for that." That's hilarious. But come on, Manny, it sucks that they're putting so much bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, like, without getting into it too much, I saw that things like CDs and things don't actually attract those kind of tariffs, but It's just like the mail carriers here have just said it's too difficult. We're not gonna do it for anything. That's basically what it amounts to. So
People can also buy it digitally.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Buy it
Yep.
digitally. So
And on Bandcamp, it's like the highest. You can get different sort of bandwidths of waveforms and things. So you can get very high quality digital downloads. So yeah.
Bandcamp is good. Yeah, it's good to the artists. So Ian and Will, I've had fun sharing with you tonight, and obviously morning afternoon for you guys. I had fun. Hope you had fun as well, chilling with me here.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you. And apologies about that early audio teething issues, but that really cleared up as we went, so that was good.
Yeah, I'm starting to think it was just me.
No, that's okay. Sometimes stuff happens. So, Coucher, the Ahles album is out now. It's out since July. If you like progressive metal mixed with classical music, some thrash, do not sleep on it. It's a new band. This is their debut record, but the musicians, they're not like 20-year-olds who just got there. They've been around. I don't know, Will, you look very young, but
Yeah,
like,
got a face for it.
like I'm not that young, so me and Ian probably were more in our 40s. So like if you want some progressive stuff, check them out and follow the band. I'm following you guys on Instagram. Is that where more people can follow you?
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook mostly, those two. Yeah, I haven't really branched out into any of the other things really, so maybe we should.
Yeah. Those are too long for TikTok. They have
Yeah. Oh, we have YouTube as well. We have YouTube, like where we've got some videos and playthroughs and dissections of songs if you want to check it out on the YouTube channel as well.
And
so
I promise I'll get onto that at some point, Ian, when I update my camera.
Is that Ahles Band or what's the YouTube page?
I will confirm that, Hank. Actually, I'm pretty sure it is Ahles Band, but I'm just going to double check.
Yeah.
I should know this off the top of my head. I'm a bad promoter.
It's because we're too busy actually focused on the music, I would say. Makes us look like the dedicated artists we are.
Yes, it's Ahles Band. So Ahles Band is the YouTube channel. Yeah.
I'll subscribe myself there to the Ahles
Awesome.
Band YouTube.
Thank you.
So
yeah,
before I let you guys go, so you can go have lunch, because
yes.
I'll go sleep. You guys will go have lunch.
Easy. I am quite hungry, actually. Yeah.
What do you want to say to the Couchers before we go?
Oh, thank you for listening to what we have to say today. Your couch host is a very interesting interviewer, asks really cool questions, and we've had a lot of fun. Hopefully you have the same amount of fun watching this and listening to our stuff.
Yeah, pretty much what Ian said. Thank you so much for having us. And honestly, for me, it still feels a little bit surreal, just all of a sudden, because, I always grew up just watching interviews with my favorite bands and everything. And so for someone like me who's always had such a love of, music and metal to be here and actually doing it, just still sort of not pinching myself. Maybe I'm between dreams and the waking world. I don't know. But yeah, no, I hope everyone enjoys the album as much as we enjoyed putting it together. It was really very much very satisfying just to hear everything coming together and then to just have it, exist as a physical product, but also something that other people can enjoy as well. It's a very gratifying feeling. So to everyone who chills on the couch with Hector and listens to our album, yeah, thank you very much. It's a real pleasure.
Awesome. So Couchers, the Ahles album is out now. Go check it out. So until next time, Couchers, this is Hector, the chill dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.